The sound hits before anything else. A wall of bronze screaming, and something beneath it all that has no name, rolling across the field like a wave that swallows everything it touches. Then the lines collide, and the world becomes noise, pressure, and chaos compressed into the length of a spear. His eyes are open, shield raised, breathing hard in the crushing press of bodies. Every instinct he owns is screaming at him to run. This is not glory. This is what war actually looks like. Long before the killing begins, there is waiting. Agonizing, sleepless, stomach-turning waiting. A soldier in the ancient world spends more time marching than fighting, more time hungry than resting. His feet are blistered raw. His shoulders ache from 40 pounds of bronze and leather worn since dawn. The road stretches ahead without end, through dust and heat that shimmers off the stone like a fever dream. He has been walking for 6 days. He will walk for 6 more before he ever sees the enemy. Camp at night offers little comfort. Fires are small, rations smaller. Men sleep in shifts, weapons close, listening to the darkness beyond the perimeter for sounds that may or may not be there. The camp has its own smell: leather, smoke, unwashed bodies, and underneath it all, something sharper. Fear has a scent. Every soldier in every age knows this, though none of them would say it aloud. Commanders move through the firelight, issuing orders, checking formations, reading the mood of their men like weather. A nervous army is a dangerous army, not to the enemy, but to itself. Discipline is everything. Without it, 10,000 men become 10,000 terrified individuals running in different directions. The morning before battle is unlike any other morning a man will ever experience in his life. Something in the air changes. The birds go quiet. Even the wind seems to hesitate. Men who laughed around fires the night before now sit stone still, staring at nothing, lips moving in private prayers. What are they thinking about? What would you be thinking about? Tell us in the comments below. Some check their equipment for the 100th time, not because anything has changed, but because the hands need something to do. A Greek hoplite tightens the strap of his aspis, his great round shield, knowing that its left edge protects the man beside him. This is the foundational truth of the phalanx. Your survival is bound completely to the man on your left and the man on your right. You do not fight for glory here. You fight because if you break, the man beside you dies, and then the man beside him. The phalanx advances in near silence at first, 8 rows deep, shields locked, spears leveled at throat height. The discipline required to hold that line while another wall of armed men charges toward you is almost incomprehensible. Your instincts are screaming, every nerve in your body is demanding that you stop, turn, and run. The ground shakes beneath several thousand sandaled feet, and the sound builds from a low tremor into something that fills the chest like thunder. Then the lines meet, and the first impact of 2 phalanxes colliding, the othismos, the push, is exactly what it sounds like. Thousands of men pressing shield against shield, driving with their legs, stabbing overhead and underfoot in a grinding, breathless mass of muscle and desperation. There is almost no room to move. Men die on their feet and cannot fall because the bodies around them hold them upright. The soldier in the second row drives his spear past the shoulder of the man ahead. He cannot see clearly. He stabs toward movement. Somewhere in that crush, a man loses his footing. He goes down and he does not come back up. The noise is extraordinary. Bronze striking bronze, men shouting commands that no one can hear, screaming that seems to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. Veterans learn quickly to shut out the sound and focus only on what is immediately in front of them. Stay in the line. Keep the shield up. Push forward. Do not stop pushing forward. On the flanks, cavalry wheels and probes for weakness. Waiting for the moment a line begins to fracture. A broken flank means encirclement. Encirclement means death for every man caught inside it. Roman legionaries face a different kind of discipline. Methodical, relentless, engineered for sustained violence over hours and hours of brutal attrition. Each soldier in a legion carries not just a sword, but 2 heavy javelins, the pilum, designed with deliberate engineering genius. The pilum's iron shank bends on impact, lodging in an enemy shield and making it impossible to use. dragging it downward at the worst possible moment. Then the short-stabbing gladius comes out, and the real work begins. Close, personal, and utterly merciless. The testudo, the turtle formation, turns a unit of men into something that looks almost mechanical. Shields above, shields on the sides, an armored shell advancing under arrow fire. Inside that shell, men are sweating, blinded, breathing each other's fear, trusting entirely in the discipline of their training. Think about that for a moment. Marching blind toward archers while trusting 40 strangers not to break. Subscribe if the reality of ancient warfare fascinates you. Persian armies brought scale that Greek city-states had never imagined. Tens of thousands of men from dozens of subject peoples, each with different weapons, different tactics, different languages. Coordinating such a force across broken terrain, without radio, without maps, without reliable communication, is a logistical challenge bordering on impossible. Runners carry orders. Signals come from elevated positions using fire and reflected light. And still, plans fall apart within the first minutes of contact. At Thermopylae, a narrow coastal pass becomes the great equalizer. Terrain that renders numbers meaningless. 300 Spartans and their allies hold that pass not through magic or mythology, but through ruthless exploitation of ground and absolute refusal to yield. Spartan warriors have been preparing for this moment since childhood. They know nothing except war, discipline, and the contempt of death. But even the finest soldiers in the ancient world feel fear. They simply have been trained to move through it rather than stop inside it. What makes a man stand and fight when every rational instinct tells him to run? Drop your thoughts below. This question defined entire civilizations. In Carthaginian and later Roman warfare, the use of war elephants introduces a terror that infantry training cannot fully prepare a soldier for. The sound alone, the trumpeting, the ground-shaking footfall of several tons of animal in full charge, causes horses to panic and infantry to scatter. Some units break before the elephants even reach them, not from cowardice, but from something older and deeper than training can override. The counter tactics are creative and brutal. Narrow lanes opened in formations to let elephants through, fire, noise, hamstringing from the sides. War in the ancient world demands constant improvisation. Textbook formations dissolve in the first 5 minutes of real contact. The great commanders, Hannibal, Alexander, Caesar, Scipio, are distinguished not by having perfect plans, but by reading chaos faster than their opponents can. Hannibal's encirclement at Cannae in 216 BC remains one of history's most devastating tactical achievements. Not because it was complicated, but because it was psychologically precise. He allowed his center to bend backward, drawing the Roman mass forward, tightening around them like a closing hand. 70,000 Roman soldiers die in a single afternoon, not from a superior force, but from superior geometry. The aftermath of any ancient battle is almost impossible to describe and equally impossible to forget for anyone present. The field is not cleaned up in an afternoon. Bodies lie where they fell, sometimes for days in summer heat. The wounded who cannot be carried out face outcomes that none of us today would survive without intervention that simply does not exist in the ancient world. Surgeons, and they do exist, trained and practiced, work with bronze instruments, wine as antiseptic, linen for binding, arrowheads lodged near bone, deep cuts already inflamed. Infection is not a future risk, it is a near certainty. Soldiers who survive the battle sometimes do not survive the week that follows it. The men who do survive carry something home with them that has no name in the ancient world but leaves unmistakable marks. They are quieter than they were. They wake suddenly in the night. They flinch at unexpected sounds years after the battlefield is behind them. Ancient sources mention this without analyzing it. Soldiers who cannot return to ordinary life, who seek out other veterans because only they understand what was seen. Share this if you believe the human cost of ancient warfare deserves to be truly understood, not just celebrated. Retreat is often more dangerous than the battle itself. A broken army is easy prey for pursuing cavalry. Men throw down shields and weapons to run faster, and in doing so remove the only things that might save them. Entire armies are destroyed not in the fighting line, but but in the chaos of collapse, cut down from behind, exhausted, defenseless, and alone. The lucky ones reach rivers, forests, defensible high ground. Most are not lucky. After a victory, armies do not immediately celebrate. They are too exhausted, too dehydrated, too shocked. Men sit among the wreckage of what happened, staring at things that their minds have not yet processed into language. A soldier picks up the helmet of a man he knew that morning. He turns it over in his hands. He sets it down again. There is nothing to say. There is no ceremony for this moment in the field. There is only the long, heavy silence of having survived something that others did not. The ancient world does not sentimentalize its wars. Wars are fought for land, resources, dominance, survival, and the demonstration of power. But the soldiers fighting those wars are not abstractions. They are men who were cold, hungry, frightened, and very far from home. They gripped their shields so hard their hands cramped. They looked at the man beside them and made unspoken promises. Some kept those promises, some did not. Both kinds lived with what they chose for the rest of their lives. If you've stayed with this story to this point, you already understand something that no statue or monument fully captures. Ancient warfare was not distant or romantic. It was immediate, physical, personal, and brutally final. The ground remembers. The silence after the last sound of fighting is its own kind of testimony. And somewhere beneath the dust of every ancient battlefield, the sandal prints of ordinary men are still pressed into the earth. Men who woke that morning not knowing it would be their last and fought anyway.